Morning, boys and girls. How are you doing today? Today I have another story for you. But today I have someone with me. Yes, a new friend you didn't meet before. Do you remember this orange bag? Always we have puppets inside the orange bag. But for them to come out, you have to close your eyes. Can everyone close their eyes? Please close your eyes, okay? Everybody. Yes. Okay, now, my friend, can you come out? Open your eyes. This is my new friend. You know what's her name? Her name is Zawadi. Yes. She wants to say hello. Hello, boys and girls. See? Do you know how did I meet Zawadi? I will tell you our story. So one day I went on an aeroplane from Egypt and I traveled to the island of Zanzibar. Okay? And there I was walking in the streets and I found a big market. And I found Zawadi. So I got Zawadi with me and then I got back on the aeroplane and I came back all the way to Egypt. But while I was in the aeroplane, I looked at Zawadi's dress and I found something written on the dress. So I told my friends, can you understand what's written on Zawadi's dress? He told me there is something written in a language called Swahili. And Swahili is the language spoken in the island of Zanzibar. This is where Zawadi is from. And you know what, boys and girls? It was a story about a little girl called Zawadi. And do you want to listen to the story? Who wants to listen to the story? Raise their hand. Raise your hand higher, higher. Yes, I can see you. Okay, I'm going to tell you the story of a little girl called Zawadi. So once upon a time, there was a little girl living in the island of Zanzibar with her mommy and daddy. And she was living in a small village. And their house was super tiny. And every morning, Zawadi would put on her clothes all by herself because she is a big girl, like you boys and girls watching. And she would go to school. And her mommy would wake up and go to her little farm where she plants some seeds for fruits and vegetables and flowers. And her daddy, who makes beautiful hats in the afternoon and he sells them in the morning. So every afternoon, Zawadi's daddy would make beautiful hats out of colorful fabrics and some colorful beads and some fluffy feathers, just like this. And in the morning, he would first put on his own hat and then he would lay the other hats on top of his own hat, one on top of the other, one on top of the other, until he have a very long line of hats. And then he would go outside in the streets of the village and walk around to sell the hats. And he would say, hats for sale, hats for sale, who wants to buy a hat? Hats for sale, hats for sale, who wants to buy a hat? And by this he would collect some money and buy lovely things for his family. And one day it was summertime and Zawadi didn't have school. So she went to her daddy and told him, Daddy, Daddy, can I please come to you? I want to join you. while you're selling the hats. So Daddy told her, Zawadi, please stay home. I cannot take you. I'm super busy. But Zawadi insisted. And she told her daddy, please, Daddy, please. So her daddy told her, okay, Zawadi, go get dressed quickly and come, because I don't have time. So Zawadi went to her room quickly and she put on her clothes all by herself and she went back to her daddy. And her daddy, remember what he was doing? He was putting first his own hat and then laying down the hats, the other hats that he wants to sell, one on top of the other until they form a very long line. And he would walk super slowly and carefully so that he doesn't drop any of the hats. And Zawadi was walking next to him and she was super happy to watch her daddy. And he would call again in the streets. Do you remember what did he say? Yes, good job. He would say, hats for sale, hats for sale, who wants a hat? Hats for sale, hats for sale, who wants a hat? But on this day, it was super sunny and it was super hot. And Zawadi and her daddy, they didn't find anyone to buy the hats. And Zawadi got super tired and super hungry. So she told her daddy, 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 I'm hungry. But her daddy didn't have any money at this time because he didn't sell any of the hats. So he wasn't able to buy some food for Zawadi. So he told her, look, Zawadi, let's walk a little bit more. And they walked and walked and walked until they found a tree. So they decided to sit under the tree and rest for a little bit. So Zawadi's daddy sat down and he took little Zawadi in his lap and he rested his own head on the tree, very careful so the hats don't fall down. And they slept, they fell asleep. They slept for a very long time. And then they woke up. And Zawadi's daddy reached out for his own hat. And he found it. But when he reached for the other hats, he didn't find any hat. Oh my God! He was super scared. And Zawadi and her daddy, they looked everywhere. They looked next to them. And they looked and they looked and they looked, but they couldn't find the hats. What should they do now? But Zawadi looked up on the tree and she found some monkeys. Each one of them had one of her daddy's hats. So she told her daddy, look, Daddy, look. And he looked up and he saw the monkeys. So Zawadi's daddy was super duper angry. And then he pointed a finger at the monkeys and told them, hey monkeys, give me back my hats. So the monkeys pointed out their finger back at Zawadi's daddy and said, ooh, ah, ah, ooh, ah, ah, ooh, ah, ah. And then this made Zawadi's daddy even more angry. So he started to stomp his feet and point out his finger and he said, monkeys, give me back my hats. So what did the monkeys do? Yes, they did the same like Zawadi's dad, with their feet and their finger, and they say, ooh, ooh, ah, ah, ooh, ooh, ah, ah. And this made Zawadi's dad even more angry. And he started to shake his hands and talk to the monkeys and tell them, didn't I tell you? Can't you hear me? Give me back my hats. And the monkeys did the same. They shake their hands, and they also, with the same tone, told the daddy of Zawadi, "Oh ah ah, oh ah ah." And then Zawadi's dad held his head like this, and he told Zawadi, "Let's go home." He gave up. And then Zawadi told him, "Daddy, wait! I have an idea." So her daddy told her, "What? What, Zawadi?" She told him, "Okay, Daddy, can you give me please your hat?" So he told her, "Okay." And then she held his hat and put it on top of her head. And then she slowly took the hat and threw it on the floor and told the monkeys, "Can you please give back my daddy his hats?" And so the monkeys slowly held the hats on top of their head, and they dropped it down and to the floor, and they said slowly, "Ooh ooh ah ah, ooh ooh ah ah." And now Zawadi and her dad, they have they have now the hats back. So the daddy was super happy, and he hugged Zawadi and told her, "Thank you, you're super smart, just like every one of you, boys and girls." And then you know what Zawadi's dad did? He put on his own hat, and he laid the other hats one on top of the other, one on top of the other, until they formed a long line on top of his head. And this time he put Zawadi, his daughter, on his head, on the last hat. And she was sitting very happy, very high up in the sky. And both of them, they walked back in the streets, and both of them, they started saying what? Yes. "Hats for sale, hats for sale, who wants a hat? Hats for sale, hats for sale, who wants a hat?" And on this day, Zawadi and her daddy sold all of the hats, and they made lots and lots of money. And they went to the market and bought very yummy food, and they went together back home. And this was the end of the story. But before I go, I want to tell you, you know what's the meaning of the name Zawadi in Swahili? It means the present. And this is my present for you, boys and girls.